So, should you pay the asking price for a property that you've seen? It's a question I get asked a lot. There are many factors to take into account. I'm going to go through them all in this short film, straight after this intro. I'm Tim Hill, internet entrepreneur, property investor, and author of How to Really Buy a Property. No, it's not one of those books that goes on and on about how you can make millions investing in property, and all you have to do is go on my course to learn the secrets, and then you go on my course and you find out that you have to go on my master course to learn the real secrets. None of that. If you have decided to buy a property, no matter what your motivation, then How to Really Buy a Property is the smart way to do it, and it will save you time, money, and stress. Right, the first thing you need to be asking when you're deciding whether to pay the asking price is your motivation. I'll give you a couple of stories. There was a house on the market for 1.1 million. This is a transaction I was involved in. So it was 1.1 million, and two people had bid the asking price. So the agent and the seller decided that they were going to go to sealed bids. I've made a different video exactly about sealed bids, so if you need more information on that, just look it up. It went to sealed bids, and the highest bidder bid 2.1 million. So property on the market for 1.1 million, highest bid 2.1 million. I said to the buyer, why did you do that? You know, there's nothing in this area, no house in this area that's anywhere near that value. So why do you want to overpay? And he just said, this is the property where I want to raise my family. So that was his motivation. His motivation was absolute, and his wealth was a lot, that he had found the right property. And he couldn't stop his family growing up. He couldn't say, right, well, I'll just stop the kids getting bigger for a while until I find the next property that's going to really, like, what's the word? Make me drool. So he had a lot of money to do it, and he was very specific in his motivation that he wanted that house, and he got that house. Different story, other end of the scale. It was helping a friend who was looking for a buy-to-let investment. I think it was £150,000 at the time. The market was very buoyant. These kind of smaller properties were kind of getting snapped up very quickly, and he was wondering, should he be paying the asking price or not? And his plan was to buy the property and keep it for maybe 10, 20 years, maybe longer, rent the property out. So it was a real long-term investment. Now, generally speaking, he was buying in London, and generally speaking in London, property prices double every 10 years. So I said to him, look, in 10 years' time, when this property is worth about 300,000, that £5,000 that you might have saved a little bit if you tried to negotiate and so on, it will be neither here nor there, total kind of irrelevance. But if you pay now 145,000, if that's your offer, then the chances of you getting gazumped are really high. You might, pay for the solicitor to start their work, you pay for the surveyor, you pay for the mortgage company to do the paperwork. But before you get to the point where everything's official, somebody else might come along and say to the seller, hey, I'll give you 150,000 for that. Forget this guy with 145,000. Go with me. And the vendor might. And then my friend, the buyer, has lost all that money. He has to start again. And in a buoyant market, that's really, really common. Gazumping is one of those unfortunate things in the property market. So his motivation was long-term, and he decided that the best thing to do was go with the asking price. And he often quotes that story back to me. It happened a long, long time ago. The property did double in value. I think it's up now like 150%, something like that. And the £5,000 that he might have saved is really neither here nor there. So two different people there with two specific motivations. But if you are paying the asking price, do so in a way that gets you what you want. And I'll explain that. So, what I'll normally do is say that property is £150,000. I will offer something which I'm pretty sure the vendor is going to reject. So I might go in at 140,000, something like that, and get a kind of no way. And then what I'll do is I'll increase my offer and I'll say, okay, 150,000 if you agree to take this property off the market, stop viewings, tell the agent that they're not to advertise it for the next 6 weeks, okay, to make sure that the property goes through. I might say something like, and I want the kitchen included and the bathroom fitted. Perhaps I might say something if I saw two kind of decent beds in there and I was buying this as a rental investment, I might say, and I also want those beds. Now, from the seller's point of view, they probably assumed that the estate agent was going to stop showing the property. That's not actually true. I'll cover it in another video. It's the estate agent's obligation to carry on marketing the property. They're acting in the vendor's best interests by doing so. They have to do it, even if some don't. So the seller's thinking, well, hey, I'm getting something which I thought I was getting anyway, and I'm getting the asking price. And I was going to leave the kitchen and the bathroom anyway. What's the day on? So, yeah, whatever. And the beds, well, I thought I was going to have to pay somebody to take them out. And now this dude's saying, yeah, leave them in, and I get the asking price. It's all good from his point of view. And I've got everything I wanted. I've got my chances of getting gazumped right down, and the vendor happy with the deal as well. As long as we all then, move fast and get to the point of exchange of contracts. Now, that's generally how I will offer anyway, whether I'm paying the asking price or not. Always going in at a point where the vendor is 99% going to say, no, I'm not going to accept that offer, and then come up a bit. And when I'm coming up a bit, I'm coming up with some demands as well. Now, also at the same time, I have to make sure that the estate agent sells me as the buyer. Now, a lot of estate agents, they'll pick up the phone to the seller and say, I've got you an offer, 140,000. And that's kind of it. And what I want to do, and the better estate agents do this, although they're few and far between, is before mentioning the figure, I want to sell myself as a buyer. So I'll say, £50,000 is in cash. Here's my bank statement showing that I've got the cash. If you don't want to show your whole bank statement, just open a new account and put £60,000 in there if that's what you've got. It doesn't have to be if you're just doing a 5% deposit, just put that amount, a little bit more, into a separate bank account so that you can basically prove that you really do have the cash for the deposit. Show them that you've got an agreement in principle from a lender, from a bank, that says, I've been to the bank, they've checked through my rough details, how much I earn, what my financial situation is, how many other debts I've got, and they have agreed that if all those things are true and I've got no skeletons in my closet, they're going to lend me that amount of money. Then the key is to make sure that the estate agent tells the vendor that, because it's almost psychological in terms of the vendor knowing, I like him, I think this sale's going to go through, it's a safe deal. So it's important to provide those documents and tell the estate agent, sell me. Tell the seller, you've seen my agreement in principle, you've seen my bank statement, you know I'm good for the money. Okay. That's the key in terms of putting the offer forward. Now, if we go back to this question about the asking price again, it really is a case of market conditions, but also the vendor's situation. Now, in trying to understand the seller's motivation, the best way you can do this, if the property's been sold through an estate agent, is to talk to the estate agent. So a lot of buyers make the mistake of agreeing to meet the estate agent at the property they want to view. Don't do that. Make an excuse. Say to the estate agent, I need to meet you at your office and we can go together in your car. Gives you plenty of time to chat. Two things that does: estate agents blabber. They love to talk. They love to chat, and they say too much. They always say too much. So they'll say too much about the local market conditions that they don't mean to. It gives you a kind of idea. They'll start by, oh, it's really busy, frantic and stuff like that. But when you get that kind of chat going, when you're talking about, what are they planning to do in their personal lives, then you might find that they've got things a bit on hold at the moment. If they've got things a bit on hold, it means that they're not sure about their future incomes. And that's because the local market is actually perhaps quite shaky. And getting a bit out about who the vendor is. What's their motivation? Why are they selling? Is it because, for example, this is a repossession, so the bank's quite keen to get shot of it if they can as quickly as possible. The bank might not have that much money tied up in the property, so they want a quick deal. Is it perhaps that somebody's passed away and this is the family selling it on? Just get that kind of idea. Has the vendor actually found a property that they want to buy, and so they're keen to get moving if they can? And then there's all sorts of ways that you can, take advantage of that to your own benefit. For example, let's say the vendor has found a place, so they're truly motivated, and they want to get on. They've got their new house, new flat in their minds, and maybe they have to move because of work. So then there's a case where perhaps if the market isn't too buoyant, that you can get away with offering below the asking price. And in fact, sometimes you can get away with offering at a point which they wouldn't really normally sell. And they might say to you, well, okay, your offer, it's 10% below the asking price. The trouble is, I can't afford to move with that offer. And then what you really wanted to do is to try and get the estate agent to talk up the chain to the people that they're buying from and say, if you can reduce the price that you've accepted a little bit, this person can accept this offer and everything can move and everybody will get paid. So the estate agents, both estate agents, they're like, well, we're motivated, we want to do that. The vendor at the top, he might have his own motivation as well. Maybe he's like, trying to emigrate and he just wants to get on with it or something like that. So he might say, okay, yeah, I'll drop my price 5%. That way this vendor can drop his price 10% and we can all get on and move. So talking to the estate agent about the vendor's situation, about the local market conditions, cutting through the chat, and estate agents will chat and chat and chat, and cutting through the chat to the bits that give you the clues as to what's really going on will tell you if you don't have to pay the asking price. Same rule applies though. Go in lower where you can absolutely be sure that your offer will be rejected. Come up, but when you come up, make those demands. Property gets taken off the market. I want the kitchen. I want the bathroom. Saying quite literally, I want the carpets. Stuff like that. Really the kind of things that the vendor says, well, of course, but you're actually just making your deal a little bit safer. Okay, so every transaction, every property, every offer is going to turn on its own merits about whether or not you should pay the asking price. There is no blanket rule. You've just got to get a feel for the situation, a feel for the market conditions, how important getting that property is to you, what your motivation is. If you pay the asking price, if you're paying a few £1,000s more than like just under the asking price, is that really going to make any difference in the long term? Is it going to make much difference to how much you pay every month on your mortgage? Probably not. So if you've got a strong motivation for the property, the market is buoyant, you probably do ultimately want to offer the asking price, but not straight away. That's all for this short video. There's much more information in the book, How to Really Buy a Property.
As always, if you found this information useful, please remember to subscribe, to share, to like, to do all those social media things. It all helps other people who need this information find it more easily. If you've got some specific questions which you'd like me to have a go at answering, please put them in the comments below and I'll try and get to them. And in the meantime, good luck with your property purchase.